Hello there, Alan Bourke is my name, and welcome to this series, Buying at Auction. Very few people have ever bought a property at auction, and for that reason they're nervous about the process and quite often don't bid at auction and really wonder what sort of an opportunity they missed. So the idea behind this video is to explain the process as easily as we can so you feel comfortable in bidding at auction and picking up the right sort of buy at the right sort of price. The first part of auction is, if I buy at auction, what are my terms of sale? Now that's the important part. The first part of looking at a property is making sure the home suits your needs. Assuming that the home is the one you want to bid on, you've got to look at the auction terms and the auction contract. And it is perfectly understandable to ask the salesperson, can I cite the auction contract before I bid? There will be a deposit requirement that might be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 as a deposit to the tune of the agreed figure. Settlement will then be 30 days, 42 days, 60 days after the auction day. It is absolutely vital to understand that at bidding at auction you're buying unconditionally for cash, so that if you've got subject to finance in your mind or subject to sale, you are not allowed to bid at auction because it puts you at great risk. Some people bid at auction with a pre-approval of finance, and that can be dangerous because the pre-approval certificate states that assuming nothing changes with the bank, and sometimes things change and people buy at auction and are placed in a very invidious position that the bank changes its mind. So if you're going to buy at auction, it's vital that you get a representative from the bank to come through the property, i.e. a valuer, to ascertain and give you approval specifically for that property and to an amount of money up to which you can bid. The only other things I'd suggest you do is arrange a white-hand certificate and a building certificate on the home before you buy. In private treaty, you can make that a condition of your purchase. With auction, you can't. You're buying it unconditionally. So you get your building company to go and look at it. Cost you something like $400 to have a look at the home. Get your white-hand company to have a look at it. Again, a couple of $100 to do that. But at least you're 100% happy with the structure of the home and all the improvements there before you bid on the day. What happens on the day? The auctioneer will traditionally open the auction process. He'll describe the home, describe the environs, reinforce what the terms of auction are, and then call for your bidding. This is where the fun starts. Many bidders step back and wait for someone else to bid, and that particular party really starts to control the momentum of the auction. You've got to understand the word momentum is really your enemy in an auction. If it gets out of control or it goes too fast for you, you're really trying to play catch up with the bidding. So quite often a very clever strategy is to step up. If the auctioneer calls for a very low opening bid, many bidders step up and give them a higher bid. It stamps your confidence, your degree of determination on the auction, and sometimes that'll unsettle other buyers. You're not there to compete with the auctioneer, you're there to compete with other buyers. So if you can upset them in some way, make them feel nervous and not bid, then you've certainly achieved your desired results. Sometimes bidders will say, 525, no, 527.5. Nice and loud, nice and firm, and it gives that extra stamp of authority that you're there to buy. If another bidder bids again, and quite often they will be timid and they'll wait a while before they bid, try and bid quickly on top of where they bid. In other words, if they then said 530, you come back with 532.5. Come back fast as if you are absolutely determined to bid and to buy. I've seen an auction once where the buyer left their hand in the air until he finally put it down. So it just showed, I'm here all day and I'm absolutely determined to buy this. And it affected a lot of buyers and they stepped out of the bidding process. Sometimes you can yell out strange bids, $537,236. That in turn may upset the auctioneer, and sometimes they get a little flustered, and that may work for your benefit as well. Don't do it often, maybe once, but sometimes if you're there to try and destabilise the crowd, that sort of process works. Auctions will often pause. They go to a holding over phase. Now you might be the highest bidder at that stage, but the fact that the property hasn't been sold to you, don't get overly confident, because invariably there's a second round of negotiating. more often than not, the sales representative will come over to you and say, look, you haven't bought it, it's lower than reserve, can you do anything to improve your bid? Try and source from the sales representative what the seller has in mind. And again, you're now working in a private treaty negotiation, even though it's under the terms of auction. So if you can, and you've beaten the guy next door, that's all very nice, but you haven't bought the home. Try and negotiate the property at auction. Get ready for that, because it happens more often than not in auctions nowadays. So if you can improve your bid, do so, because you're probably the only party there that can meet the terms of auction. And that's important, because many people don't bid at auction. The minute the property passes in, then quite often there is a number of other offers subject to finance, subject to valuation, different deposit, different settlement dates that come in directly after auction, and then you're competing very quickly with them. The auction arena is the way to buy, because you know that you have to raise your bid only by $1,000 and you've bought the home if it's at or beyond reserve. If it gets passed in, you have one crack at it. In other words, you offer and you might miss it by $1,000, or conversely, you might be in a competitive arena and you might pay $5,000 or $10,000 too much because the runner-up offer was much less. So try and put yourself in that position of bidding at auction. There are less bidders at auction. Under the terms of auction, there's a lot more outside that. There is total transparency. You'll know you only pay $1,000 more than the highest bidder. Sometimes it's $500, and it's totally transparent. You won't miss out because of another bid coming from the side. So get your ducks in a row. Get your finance organised. Get a strategy, a bidding strategy for auction. Get your inspections done so you're all ready to bid. And I wish you all the very best of luck bidding at auction. Thank you.